We're only 2 weeks into the season, but I'm ready to say it. The best quarterback in the Big 12 resides in Salt Lake City. His name, Devon Dampier.
You are Locked On Utes, your daily podcast on the Utah Utes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for making Locked On Utes your first listen and view of the day. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, available wherever you get your podcasts, as well as on YouTube. If it's your first time tuning into this show, make sure you like and subscribe. We got a loaded show today, but first, want to let you know that today's episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finance with Monarch Money. Use the code LOCKEDONCollege, all caps, no spaces, at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. My name is JT Wistrcill, excited to be joined by one of the co-hosts of Brice and Nucci, which you can find from 7 to 10 a.m. on 103.9 and 98.3 FM, the Utah ESPN radio network. It's my good friend Brice Larson. Brice, appreciate you coming on. And I was just sitting here thinking about Big 12 quarterback play, and the Big 12 has not been the most impressive when it comes to the teams overall this season. Several duds, Kansas State, even ASU last week a little bit, Oregon, Oklahoma State, anyone? Wow, that was crazy. But when you talk about the quarterback play, there's some solid ones there. I think there are some guys. Rocco Beck comes to mind, but I truly believe the dual threat abilities of Devon Dampier. He's clearly elevated his game from last season. I think that's what sets him apart. He's one of the fastest players in college football, or most elusive, I'll say, especially among the quarterbacks. And he still has a lively arm and can make some things happen downfield, even if it hasn't been as explosive yet at Utah as I think it can be. I still think that Dampier overall, when you look at the dual threat abilities, he's right now to me the best quarterback in the Big 12. What do you say to that?
That's an interesting take because there's a lot of good quarterbacks in the Big 12, as we have discussed. Sawyer Robertson out of Baylor, I think that he's got to be in this discussion as well. Sam Leavitt down at Arizona State, he's another guy that's got to be right up there in this conversation, in my opinion. Devon Dampier, I don't know that I'm ready to say he is currently the best quarterback in the Big 12 conference, and there's one reason why. It's because when Kyle Whittingham was asked about the passing game, earlier this week, he said, we still need to get those chunk plays. We still need to have those explosive plays down the field, and we need to figure it out. Now, is that Devon Dampier's fault? I don't think so. I think it's more of a wide receiver issue, maybe not being able to create that separation down the field and make sure that they can get open for one Devon Dampier. But until I see that, until they push it down the field a little bit more, until they can get those chunk plays, I don't know that I can jump on board just yet and saying that he's the best quarterback in the Big 12.
I think it's fair to say, like, from as perspective of part of this is a little bit of a projection because he has only played UCLA and Cal Poly. But I just do believe by the time we get to, through even Big 12 play, I think he will be the guy on top. He's the highest among HEISMAN voters right now, among Big 12 quarterbacks. And I just believe he's made for the big game and the big moment. And you mentioned Sawyer Robertson. It's a great one too, who's right up there as well. Rocco Beck. If you look at QBR right now, which I don't think is everything, but it's still an important stat. Brennan Morton is currently number 1, then Robertson, then Josh Hoover is also just tremendous. Brennan Sorsby, Noah Fafita, then you get Devon Dampier to go down with Jalen Daniels, Rocco Beck, Avery Johnson. That's an incredible, and Sam Leavitt's down at 14 right now. He's off to a rough start.
Have to bring that one up, huh?
He's off to, I did. He's off to a rough start right now, but you look at that 10 quarterback.
Don't worry.
What'd you say?
He's going to bounce back. Don't worry.
I think so. We'll see. That was rough for ASU last week, but I do think he bounces back. That 10 quarterbacks, and that's not even including like a Connor Wegman or Wegman, whatever it is, where he can still rise up the rankings as well too. But I've been so impressed by Devon Dampier so far with this Utah team. I mean, 16 for 18 on third down against UCLA. Just that ability to get the ball out quickly has impressed me. The ability to buy time for his receivers as well, just tremendously difficult to tackle and sack. And I understand there might be some more accurate quarterbacks in this conference, but Dampier's legs, I mean, his athleticism, I think, is what overcomes to me some of the, you're maybe not quite as accurate as a Sawyer Robertson, as a Josh Hoover. But like when it comes to running the football as well, like it's not even close to me. And the fact that he has that dual dynamic threat ability is why, to me, I elevate him as the top guy there.
Yeah, I would agree with you on that. Just because of the way that he's able to run the football and scamper out, elongate those plays, make defenders miss in that way. It's really impressive. It's also really impressive how he can just throw it off of his back foot and still be pretty accurate in doing so. And we saw that against UCLA quite often. It was impressive that he could do that. There's one other quarterback I think Avery Johnson should be in this. I think that this year specifically, There's one problem with Kansas State offense, and it's actually the offensive coordinator in Matt Wells. They are limiting the amount that he has been able to run all season long. And I think that is just killing his game. He is not necessarily a quarterback. He's more of a running back, which makes him a great quarterback. The ability to not know what he's going to do is what makes him play really well. And that's what he's been great at in the last couple of years. So Avery Johnson, although not a great passer, still can do it with his legs. We'll see if they change it up at all this year. But just because of the way that Kansas State has started off this season, I don't know that I can put him up too high. But I would agree, Devon Dampier, at least a top 3 quarterback in my eyes in the Big 12.
Yeah, I mentioned Sam Levitt's disappointment already as well. You know, there are the guys like Rocco Becht, and Morton is really good too, I think. But with him, I just want to see him do it against better competition. And I said the same thing about Dampier, but like they played no one. Texas Tech has. Now finally get to play someone when they head up to Salt Lake City there too. I just believe in Devon Dampier's ability to come through in the big moments. You know, people love to bring up 12-12 touchdown to interception ratio. He hasn't even really been close to throwing a pick this year. He's done a great job taking care of the football. Also, they love to bring up, well, they were 5-7 last year. If the New Mexico defense had held teams to 20 or less points in all of their games, what Utah averaged last year, New Mexico would have been 10-2 last year. That's how dynamic and fantastic this offense was. And Dampier's only going to continue to grow and get better too, I think, as he continues to adjust and grow his game and settle in with that chemistry with his receivers. I think the ceiling is very high. And I think with Brice even just saying this, like with Dampier, with that offensive line, I think that's why some of those SEC and Big Ten teams should be very scared to see a Utah if they can crack the CFP field.
It would be a lot of fun, that's for sure. Look, the key for Utah is staying healthy. If they can stay healthy throughout the entire season, it can be a very dangerous team just because of the way that they're constructed. The one question, like I go back to the first thing that I said, can they push the ball down the field? Can they pick up those explosive chunk plays? And if they can answer that question against Texas Tech, against better opposition, I think that, yes, this team could be very dangerous in college football this year.
I feel like they can too. And even some of the things with their schedule, I mean, we're only 2 weeks in the season, but you know, that game against ASU looks a lot weaker. I don't know if that's a team that's capable of coming up to Salt Lake City and winning. I could say the same thing about that Kansas State team based on how they looked right now. And it's early. There's a lot of time till we get to those games. They might figure some things out of that nature, but this is a Utah team. I feel like the schedule sets up well for them. Yes, they play some difficult games still. Have to go to BYU for the rivalry game, of course, taking on Baylor. There's several difficult games on the schedule, Brice. But to me, I do feel like Utah looks really good. I'll even just say this to you, Brice. Like, I think Utah is a top 10 team in the country right now. I understand why other people aren't on that bandwagon right now, but I think Utah is going to end up there sooner rather than later. Do you have Utah as the best team in the Big 12 right now?
I have them right up there. I can't go out on a limb and say that they are the best team in the Big 12 right now. I think there's one or two other teams. Texas Tech, that game against Texas Tech is going to really show us a lot that's coming up here. And it's great for Utah that they have it at home. I think Utah can win that football game. I want to wait and see for that game right there. And then I want to see what else shakes out with the rest of the conference as well. And I think that Utah right up there, as I already mentioned with Devon Dampier, top 3 quarterback. I think Utah's right up there, a top 3, top 4 team in the conference as it stands right now. But the schedule shakes out for them incredibly well. As you mentioned already, some of these teams that they have on the back end of the schedule are not as good as we thought they were going to be. It's like the toughest game they're going to run into is Texas Tech. And then, of course, with BYU being on the road, it's a coin flip, in my opinion. You never know in a rivalry game. It is what it is. It depends on their quarterback play as well. But, yeah, I would say that the schedule working out the way that it works out, I think Utah's going to be in contention for a chance to go to the Big 12 championship game.
I agree. And you mentioned the coin flip. The rivalry game always is, but I don't think it's a coin flip when it comes to right now, which of those two teams is better, Utah or BYU. You're not going to be surprised by my answer, but we'll debate why it's Utah in a moment. Today's episode of Locked On Utes is brought to you by our friends at Mazda. How great is it to have the college football season back, right? It's been great game after great game already to start the year. And Mazda makes craft cars for those who do more than simply move. I mean, whether you're trying to get to your buddy's tailgate or trying to get to the game, you want to arrive in style. And that's what Mazda can do. They deliver confidence with every ride with more IHSS top safety picks awards than anyone else. How about from footwork to to breath work. Athletes sweat all the details. Manta brings the same intention to how we craft every model. With all-wheel drive standard in every SUV crossover, you can drive with confidence through almost any season. Like our players, we sweat every detail because when you make every moment count, the impossible becomes irrelevant. Mazda, move and be moved when you head over and get a Mazda today. Today's show also brought to you by our friends at DoorDash. With DoorDash, are you just kicking your feet up on game day and don't really want to head out? That's where you need to get some DoorDash. And it's time to look back and crown this week's MVP on who delivered, just like DoorDash always was. This week's MVP on who delivered is going to be, for the Utah Utes this past week, I'm going to go with Jackson Benny, who had the pick six in the game. He delivered in a massive way. He's been great all season, flying around, making plays, making stuff happen. I've loved watching Jackson Benny. Helped continue this pick six streak as well. He's an electric player and even made a catch in week one on offense. This performance wasn't a fluke. Benny is going to stay on a hot streak. And just like Jackson Benny delivered for the Utah Utes, you can have DoorDash delivered to your Saturdays with DoorDash streaks. You save even more if you order every Saturday. Your order, stack it up all season, and you could save up to $250, including $100 in DoorDash credits. Order this Saturday. Keep the streak alive. Fuel your game day only with DoorDash. Terms apply. The promo ends on November 18th, but you can head over and start your DoorDash streak today. Brice, I think that Utah is the best team in the state of Utah right now. The country agrees with that as well. I think they have the experienced QB, which is the biggest reason that I'm still waiting to see some things from this BYU team. It's just hard for me to go on a true freshman who was not like Trevor Lawrence, even a Dylan Raiola from a recruiting standpoint, and think he's ready to win a conference title in his first year. Been impressed by BYU. I think they're a tough out for sure. I think they're one of the top 6 to 7 teams in this conference for me for sure. But Utah's quarterback, the offensive line, the way the defense is looked, and even just the statement they made in Pasadena, to me, is more impressive than a BYU winning at home against Stanford. So I am higher on Utah right now. I think they deserve to be ranked higher. I think they're the better team right now. How do you see these two teams in this rivalry?
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. The biggest question mark for BYU right now is still the quarterback position. Mm-hmm. And against Stanford, I just didn't see enough of them pushing the ball down the field. It looked like it was more of a game plan not to lose rather than to win. And with that, it showed that they're not 100% confident that they're just going to go out there and let them rip it, because the biggest thing that they talk about, you hear Kalani Sitake, you hear Aaron Roderick talk about it, they don't want him to turn the football over. And if they constantly talk about that, that means that they're not confident in him making the correct choices to not turn the football over. That's a big problem with a quarterback in Big 12 play. Whenever you're facing good P4 defenses like they will see against Utah, it's going to be really hard to not throw interceptions and to not turn the football over. And if they don't trust him to push the football down the field, they can stack the box, they can stop the run, and that's what it comes down to. And that just alone puts Utah ahead of BYU. There's other things that I still have questions about when it comes to BYU. Trouble on special teams, their fumble in the football. They couldn't figure out if they wanted to run a 2-point conversion or not. There was a lot of things that they still needed to clean up. So I would say right now, going into another week of college football, yes, Utah is ahead of BYU at this moment in time.
Brice, guess which quarterback is currently dead last in the Big 12 in QBR and the only one below 40?
Is it one Bear Bachmeier?
It's the Bear. Bear is dead last there, and that's against Portland State and Stanford. I do think that's absolutely concerning. I think BYU is going to win on the road at East Carolina. My good friend Jake Hatch was concerned about that game. Just cross-country things have happened in the past. I get it. This BYU team is very talented. You mentioned the defense, but there are still some areas they have to improve, and I just don't think this is a team that is built to overcome what could end up being bad quarterback play this year. I hope it's not. I want Bear to succeed. I know I'm saying that Utah's better, and he's the thing that holds him back, but like, I don't root against individuals. But I think it is our job to call it as we see it. And what I see right now is a BYU team that is missing that quarterback piece if they want to be a Big 12 contender.
I think it looks a lot like what Utah looked like last year. Sorry to open
it
up.
It does.
But it looks like BYU looks like Utah a season ago so far. Great elite defense. They just can't figure it out on the offensive side of the football. And without good offensive play, you're not going to win a lot of football games. That's just what it comes down to. I don't think that I think they'll be good enough probably still to make a bowl game, maybe win 7 or 8 just because of the way the schedule turns out. But I just don't see them competing at this moment in time, unless there's a ton of teams that lose in the Big 12 and we see something similar to last year where it was 9 different teams and a bunch of tiebreakers that helped them to somehow get into the championship game. Other than that, yeah, I don't see them competing, being one of the top 4 teams in the Big 12 this season.
Yeah, I believe the Utah-BYU rivalry is a game where you throw out the record. So I'd just be shocked if that isn't a close game. I like BYU's defensive line too. Chase Roberts. I love how Carson Ryan's looked this year. He's looked awesome. LJ Martin has been a lot of fun too. But even their offensive line, they have some new tackle pieces. How are they going to hold up against the best there, right? The defensive line still coming together. And even though I think it's going to be a really good unit, there are still some, hey, when you play the best competition, how does that look? And we already mentioned Bear too. I mean, Brice, I don't feel like a lot of people have talked about this yet. Like that game at Colorado, if I'm BYU, is very scary. And I know Colorado is their stuff going on with their quarterback right now too, but that's still a road game in the Big 12. Coach Prime draws good crowds. So that's going to be a ruckus environment. I said this last week and I'll stick to it. I actually do think BYU loses that game. What's your feel on that one right now?
If it's a high scoring affair, I don't know that BYU can keep up with Colorado. If they're able to put points up on the board. Now, I don't know that they'll be able to, because in the bowl game last year, I mean, they had the Heisman winner. They had former great Colorado great who got his jersey retired up in the rafters after he had such a great season, last year in Shedeur Sanders. Since they lost so many offensive pieces a season ago, I don't know that they're going to be able to score against BYU's defense. We saw it in the bowl game. I mean, if Travis Hunter and Shedeur Sanders can't score against BYU's defense last year, I don't know that new guys that we aren't really sure about can either. If they can, though, maybe there's a special teams turnover. Maybe they Parker Kingston continues to fumble the football. Maybe there's some mistakes that Bear Bachmeier makes. Maybe they do turn the football over. If that's the case, and they get behind by 2 or more scores, I don't see BYU being able to sling it and them opening it up with Bear Bachmeier. That we just haven't seen it yet. And so I don't know that they can win a foot race with a team like Colorado, or even, later on in the schedule, like TCU. TCU is a scary football team. And it might end up being like a 54-49 game. And I don't think they could score that many points. So that's the problem.
If I was going to power rank the teams in the Big 12 right now, I would go Utah, Iowa State, Texas Tech, TCU. You know what that also is, Brice? That's a key stretch on BYU's upcoming schedule. Like literally those teams in the row, I had them ranked. That's really tough with a true freshman quarterback. That there's a reason like he wears 47. And Brice, you can stop me if there's something wrong too. But like I don't think BYU thought he was going to be one of the top guys on this roster, right? Like they didn't think that he was going to win this job. I don't feel like they did. I think they thought it was going to be McKay Hillstead, and it didn't work out that way. And now you see this BYU team trying to put the pieces together. And it's a Utah team that's done a good job putting the pieces together. You mentioned the passing attack a little bit. That's something they need to improve on as well. But what has kind of impressed you? And then where do you feel like this Utah team needs to continue to improve? If they do want to go down to into LaVell Edwards Stadium and get a win in that one.
What's impressed me from Utah so far is that the defensive guys have stepped up. A guy like Smith Snowden, when I first saw that extra point got missed in that very first game, I was like, hey, can Smith Snowden kick field goals too? Let's get him out there and try and get him to kick a extra point if they're going to be missing extra points. I've been impressed by what Smith Snowden has looked like. And then Lander Barton as well coming over and playing at the same time. That kind of concerns me, JT. That worries me a little bit that guys like Tobias Merriweather haven't been able to figure it out, that defensive guys have had to step in and take over a portion, at the very least, of that role. And then you have the head coach, Kyle Whittingham, who goes in the press conference and says, yeah, the one thing that we need to do better is push the ball down the field and get more explosive plays. That worries me only because if that's the case and teams are not worried about the explosive ability of Utah's offense, that they could just pack the box. It's the same thing with Bear Bachmeier and a freshman quarterback. The only difference is that Devon Dampier is so good on his feet that can open up different running lanes. It's like Lamar Jackson, if we're being honest. And you have Derrick Henry in the backfield too. Now, that offensive line is a lot better. They're road graders, so I'm less worried about that. But that's just one thing. If they can't figure that out, you become a one-dimensional football team really fast. And that doesn't work out well at the top level of college football, especially when you play Matt Campbell's Iowa State Cyclones.
Very true. It's absolutely true. And that's where Utah has to continue to grow and get better. I like that they've connected with Ryan Davis a little bit more downfield. Dallin Bentley has made a couple plays, but they got to get Merriweather going. That's absolutely key to this Utah team. But Dampier, that offensive line, the way the defense looks, that's enough to have Utah ranked over BYU. I do side with the rest of the country and all the AP members who do their research. I know some of those don't. That's what we learned today in across the country. It's like such an exclusive thing to have an AP vote. How do you not like do the Brice? It just is bad, Nick.
It is bad. And then to have the excuse of, does it really matter in the end that's bad. That's a bad look for everybody. It does matter. Perception is everything. Perception is reality. And yes, your vote does matter. The other, 59 votes are not going to outweigh your votes if you're not paying attention. So just bad all around.
I totally agree. And you know what else is bad? When opposing quarterbacks see John Henry Daly coming. He has been on an absolute tear to start the season. What has his presence meant for this Utah football team? We're going to tell you in one moment. But first, today's episode of Locked On Utes brought to you by our fantastic friends at FanDuel Sportsbook. How great is it having NFL and college football back this past weekend? And FanDuel makes sure you're ready for kickoff each and every week with can't-miss offers. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I mean, I love using FanDuel because it fits however you like to bet. I mean, player props, building the same game parlay, even jumping in live game action as it unfolds. It makes every game more exciting, whether you're watching your team or just keeping an eye on your fantasy lineup. FanDuel has you covered. So are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. Are you liking the Utah Utes against Texas Tech? That big noon kickoff coming up in a couple weeks. How about, do you think in the NFL, is your team going to rise up to the top? My Vikings were able to in week 1. How about you Rams, Broncos fans, wherever you are? Do you think your team is ready? You can head over to FanDuel today and get in on their offers. Today's show is also brought to you by our friends at Monarch Money. Most people can't name all their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether it's 401ks, properties, or investments. And when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. That's why there is Monarch Money. It's the all-in-one personal financial tool that brings your entire financial life together in just one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or your phone. Monarch is built for people with busy lives. If you've put off organizing your finances, Monarch is for you. Monarch does the heavy lifting for you. You can link all of your accounts in minutes, see clear data visuals, get smart categorization on your spending, and finally feel in control of your money without ever touching a spreadsheet. I mean, you can identify that you aren't saving as much as you thought. Monarch helps you notice the ineffective investments, allocation, and discover forgotten 401ks from past jobs. Don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use the code LOCKEDONCollege, all caps, no spaces, at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with the code LOCKEDONCollege, all caps, no spaces, when you head over to Monarch Money today. Coming into the season, Brice, one of the biggest questions that Utah had to answer is who is going to rush the passer. You lost Van Fillinger, you lost Connor O'Toole. Logan Fano didn't look great last year, and part of that, I think, was because he was still good, but wasn't a great pass rusher. I think part of that was the rehab and recovery. So the mayor of Sac Lake City was very much up for grabs, and Logan Fano could still make a push, but John Henry Daly feels like he's starting to run away with this race. 3 sacks already in these first 2 games. He is just a relentless pass rusher. He's one of the top graded pass rushers according to Pro Football Focus too. Utah, man, Luther Ellis, Coach Powell, they just know how to develop defensive linemen. John Henry Daly looks incredible. He's looking like the guy that led the state in sacks back at Lone Peak back in the day, Brice.
No doubt about it. Top 5 in sacks in the entire country out of the gates so far this season. He comes from a great bloodline. I mean, his dad played linebacker. His uncles, Craig Bills, Taysom Hill. Any dude that's related to Taysom Hill is a freak athletically. David Nixon, former BYU linebacker. He's also one of his uncles as well. His brother is a defensive end at Rice. This dude is athletic personified. And the one thing I think is important is the positions that they put him in. They put him in a position to succeed at Utah. And that's what we've seen early on in the season so far, and just the way that they're able to scheme it up, and then he can go and win against the players that he's been up against. It's been impressive to be able to watch, and they're putting him in good spots to be able to do that.
It has been impressive to watch. And I mean, he's come a long way from that guy who was at BYU's first year. We didn't really see him the next year. Last year, Utah barely saw him. And I just give him so much credit for buying in, working hard. And when you can get home with 4. Morgan Scalley's going to bring some crazy blitzes, but when you can get home with 4-2, I think it helps out some guys like a Blake Cotton, who is making the transfer from FCS up to P4, having to take on some of the receivers that he does too. Just having that elite edge presence can change so much. We're just 2 years removed from part of the reason Utah was able to survive 2023 without Cam Rising was because how good that Utah defense was. I mean, an 8-4 team with losses to Arizona, who was like the hottest team in the country by the end of the year, went back with the Jed Fish days. I know the Wildcats missed those days immensely. Washington, Oregon, and then I'm forgetting the other one they lost to too, but I think that was a ranked team as well. Like those were the only losses because of how good this defense was. One of the biggest keys, Jonah Ellis. They look like they have their Jonah Ellis, and it's John Henry Daly this year. And with Logan Fano on the other side too, that's looking like it might be one of the best pass rush tandems in the Big 12. I know Texas Tech's got their guys, but I mean, honestly, JHD and Fano could be right there.
No, it's a scary thought because anytime that you're exactly right, you already brought it up. You can bring just 4 guys after the quarterback. That opens up your defense so much. And then it allows you to even become more exotic. It's the whole idea of not telegraphing what you're going to do as a defense. And anytime that, you can switch it up and just be able to get after the quarterback without having to do anything too crazy, that's when you're going to have a really great defense. And that's what Utah has. And that's what they're going to be able to do this entire season, as long as dudes can be able to stay healthy and continue to be effective throughout the rest of the season.
Here's a question for you, Brice. Who's your favorite player to watch on this Utah defense?
Oh, boy. My favorite player to watch on this entire Utah defense. Man, that's a good question.
Thank you, sir.
I think Logan Fano. I think Fano's got to be able to take the cake. The reason being is just because the electricity that he brings when he goes out there. Playmaker. I think he's just an all-around playmaker. He's a dude that's been able to really make a name for him in somewhat getting after the quarterback, as you mentioned, but also being able just to go out there and make plays when he's called upon. So I think that he's my number one guy when I watch that Utah defense.
The other loss in that 23 team, I just looked it up, was DJ Uiagalelei when he was at Oregon State. I totally forgot about how good he was there, and then how not good everything went at Florida State. That was a wild season. But for my guy who's the most fun, I actually have 2 almost, but if I had to pick one, I'll lean this guy slightly. So I love watching John Henry Daly, just a technician. The other guy, oh my gosh, I love watching Jonathan Hall play football. He is just a heat-seeking missile out there. The play he made against Cal Poly, batting the pass back and then getting it, and then it bounces off the QB, and he gets it back instead. Like, he just flies around, makes things happen. I still remember when he started in that bowl game against Northwestern, and he was so impressive, just flying around, making things happen at safety. And now they're like, wow, he's really good along the line of scrimmage in the box. Like, let's let him do that more. And that's what Utah was able to do. And it's been fun, and he's been a fun addition to this defense. This Utah defense, this Utah team is rolling right now, Brice. But I want to know, do you think they keep it going against Wyoming?
I think they do. Better be careful. Better watch out. I don't think it's too big of a issue. You start off well. You don't give Wyoming any hope at all, and I think you'll be able to coast the rest of the way. I will warn you, though, back in 2023, remember a Texas Tech squad that went into Wyoming and did not come out with a win. It was an overtime win for Wyoming. That was a much better Wyoming team. The spread was 13.5 back in 2023 when they went into that one. This one more like, I think I saw 22.5. So a little bit different of a Wyoming team here now that Utah's going to face. They'll be fine. You just cannot allow Wyoming to get any sort of confidence early on. If you come out, play the way that you did against UCLA, I think they'll coast to the win late in that football game.
I think they do too. I think they're clearly better. I'm going to preview the game tomorrow on a show with an expert I have coming on the show from Laramie. But to me, Utah is clearly better than that Texas Tech team. This Wyoming team clearly worse than that Wyoming team, as you mentioned too, Brice. But we're going to continue to break down that matchup. But Brice, in the meantime, please let everyone know where they can find more of you at.
No doubt about it. Every single weekday morning, 7 to 10 a.m. on 103.9 and 98.3 ESPN The Fan. You could download the ESPN The Fan app and just search up the Brice and Bianucci podcast wherever you get your podcasts.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Brice. Appreciate you coming on.
No problem. Anytime.
That's going to do it for today's Locked On Utes. Make sure you guys check out the Locked On College Football show we have, as well. The Locked On College Kickoff with Drake Toll hosting on Fire TV. Also our Locked On Big 12 if you're in the market for a second listen today. But that is going to do it for today's Locked On Utes. Make sure you guys head over and subscribe, and we will see you on tomorrow's show.